What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today, we're playing a new game. We're getting into the Stanley Parable. I'm kind of hoping to play it all in one video. If not, then hopefully two. I think it is just like a quick little game, like an hour or two. I don't know, but we'll see. I know it's been a while since I've last uploaded. But I was taking a short break and now I'm back. Probably gonna post a video every day. Try to at least. But without further ado, let me get some water. And let's get right into it. I already have it open. My webcam will not show up in it. I am planning on trying to find A, an editing software, and B, a better way to record videos. So then, because apparently, I know when I play a game, sometimes it's laggy for me as well, but the recording software I'm using, sometimes it makes the video laggy as well, apparently. So I'm gonna try and find a new one, a better one, hopefully. And hopefully this will be the last time I'll have to deal with this lag. Well, from the from the recording software end, at least. I'm still probably gonna lag quite a bit on the computer because not really a great computer. Well, I'm kind of trying to hopefully find a way to like connect something, because I have a game on my Xbox that I want to play for the channel. I kind of have a way to record it. We'll see. Maybe after this Stanley Parable series I will. But anyways, I was thinking of recording gameplay of Jedi the Fallen Order, I think it is. Well, it's the newest Star Wars game. But yeah, anyways, let's just get into this video, huh? Also, I keep looking at my webcam, like on the tab on my screen webcam, so the actual webcam. Maybe I should put it on my computer again, but I won't bother right now since it's not going to stay open in the game. But anyways, let's get into it. Audio. Closed caption. Subtitles. Yeah, let's turn on subtitles because yeah, let's see if there's anything in the video I can do. I'm not gonna mess with that. Full screen, 10 hours saving. Runs at a low frame rate in order to preserve battery power extending time. Field of vision. Okay, let's just get into it, I guess. I like how it's on a little screen there too, and endless. Okay, let's just begin the game. End is never the end is never the end is loading. Okay. I'm kind of excited to play this game. I've played, I've watched a couple of YouTubers play this game, and I think it's a fun little game. If it would actually, load. Oh boy. Gonna check my phone really quick. What? This video. still loading. Why is this thing so long to load? I don't know. Okay. Here we go.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day, every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-lifting, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
And now we're in. That lagged a little bit for me. Just so you know, it wasn't the recording software. But yeah, we're in. Stanley, this doesn't sound like a job. It sounds like a test experiment or something. Can I interact with anything? Does it say I hate Mondays or something? Something to do with Mondays. Hello? Anybody home?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Yeah, maybe it did, but my door shut. And it's all hacked, okay. I think I had a key to my own office. Guess.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Thank you, narrator, for telling me I need to go places. Who farted? Okay. I just turned off the computer.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Okay. You know what? I think I'm gonna try to make the narrator mad at me. Just keep walking around, touching stuff. Also, what was employee 432's job? Pencil sharp, sharpen pencils? I almost said pencil sharp. Oh my god. Nothing else to say, narrator? No. Maybe this door will open. No. Fine. That door's closed. That door's locked. Was he playing games? I should probably have read that before I turned it off. Another who farted bug. These guys must really like their mugs. Another Who-Fired mug. Okay. I hate Mondays. That's what the mug said. Okay. Ooh, can I go in here? No. Of course not. Why would I be able to?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I could do that. I could do that, but what if I went to the right door?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Okay, I guess we're going. Wow. Yeah, his office is a mess. Into the room. This is also kind of a mess. Okay.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Yeah, it is. You don't know how worth it is. How worth... While it is, narrator.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
Telling me I have personality issues, huh? What if I just really enjoy coffee and lounging around?
Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue, but when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
Very clever game. Okay.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
You know, I could do that, but there's another door that is open. All the way in front of me. Where's this lead, huh? Shipping area. Okay, fine. I think there's multiple endings with this.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
What if I press this button? Do anything? I don't want to. Okay, let's just follow the narrator. Get this one ending. Okay.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Hold up. Go back to. Oh, okay. Eating room. Using slides to ensure employees everything's okay. Make sure your slide has a slick blue graphic in the head. Okay, everyone is unique. You're you most of all. Do not alter without consulting my board manager. Number of slides on this slide. Slides. Charts and slides. Okay. Radio charts on the same slide. No. Hold up. Employee 417, 491, 405, 416, 431 Jim. Who's employee Jim? Where's that code? Hold up. I'm trying to do that, that number pad and the letters thing. I is 3, 430. $435. Employee 435. Okay. Slash graphic. Make sure your slide has a slick blue graphic in the header and throw some bevel on all the text. That's okay. Jeez. Bi-quarterly. Okay, let's just continue with the story. Broom closet. Oh, I can actually open it.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Oh, narrator, I think you're lying to me.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Oh, I'm just gonna stand right here. Wait, what you have to say for that?
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Anything else to say, narrator?
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Any more dialogue?
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
I think you're missing something.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friend, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
Oh, is there a broom closet ending?
Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Narrator, you're addicted to strip clubs.
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose.
How am I supposed to
Hello?
notify someone?
Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
What if I don't want to? Maybe I'm not dead. Also, before you shouted all that, I was gonna say, how am I supposed to notify someone if I'm dead? But I guess he's got me covered. Just waiting for more dialogue. Hello.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you.
Hold up. What if I step back into the broom closet?
You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Any more to say? If I go back in again, third time. Okay. Let's go up to the boss's office.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Is this up? Pretty sure this is up. You know, I could go this way. I really could. But I guess I'll just go up. Listen to the narrator. This time. Are you gonna shut? Okay. Executive bathroom. Of course it's locked. Hello.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
You idiot, you just told me. Who's the idiot now? Okay. Secrets, huh? Secrets.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. Two, 845. Stanley simply began entering random codes into the keypad, knowing but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Okay. Looks like the narrator's had enough of my crap. Okay. What is this truth? What if I just fell down here? I can't. Find that key. It's over here. It's a dark one. Oh, it's okay. Down we go, I guess. Oh no, it's a loading screen. Whatever shall I do?
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
you gotta say about that, narrator? Jesus. By the end of the game, the narrator's just gonna kill me. Nothing to say, huh? Oh, okay. Let me back in, I'm scared. Is this light gonna burn out too? No.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Oh, I guess it is. Escape?
Although this passageway had the word escape, but of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for.
Yeah, I did. Okay. Forgot that this game is really actually short. There's just multiple endings.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Yes, he did. Driven by determination. Okay, nothing. Good. Press this button.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building. Stanley's co-workers, the lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Oh, employee 104 was fired.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
You have to, Jim. I think Jim's dead.
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Just messing with the buttons. Buttons do nothing. There's buttons over here. I'm just gonna follow the story, man. Take me to the facility power. Ooh, big red button. Can't press it. Really wanted to press it, man. Oh, mind controls.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Such a big decision. Well. Okay.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes, he had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
I beat the game. Alright. It's one of the endings. There's multiple endings. How many endings? I don't know, but I can play it again and we'll find out.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I'm just gonna rush through, get these endings. This guy's won a game. 4-5. Okay.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room. Life without having experienced this room was now too horrible even to consider.
Fuel.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
That's good for you, narrator.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Need a key card.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Yeah, you're trying to get me back on the story. You leave her out of this. I have a mission to do.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Oh, is this a true? Whoa.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
No. No.
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Please, open up 425. I know you're playing games. I know you're playing games at work. I can't escape this, can I? You.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
No. Not going to.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Oh, TV.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Spend time with the boys?
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Dinner.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this. that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I...
Did I just die? I think I just died. Jesus. I think the narrator is the true villain of this game. Also, excuse me. This is a different setup.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is... But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Yep. I didn't think I was gonna die. Okay, this is just changing every time.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Fine. Listen to your game.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
The broom closet. So many fun times in there. Okay.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
I'm actually gonna work my way backwards. There's the ending that takes the longest and the one that takes the shortest. Not the panda. Can I actually... Cool. I'm gonna go this way.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. Act 2, Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Narrator's just mad, man. Just open the door.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Oh boy. Here we are. That light's gonna burn out. So was that one.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Would I though?
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
That seems like a whiles away. I'm good.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Yeah. Is it really my death? Question mark? I didn't die.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Oh. Thank you, mysterious new narrator woman.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Yeah. What was that going on? Crack?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Yeah, okay. Filing cabinets, office computers. He's playing games. What are these? Button sounds. Never heard any of those sounds, button sounds, but okay. The credits. Just where'd it go? Warzone. What? Hold up. Early in development, we designed an ending where Stanley would end up on a battlefield fighting aliens. The action game would become sentient and would wage war against the narrator. We realized shortly after starting to build it that it was far too jokey and on the nose for the tone of the game. Plus, some people interpreted it as making fun of people who like shooters, which was not our intention. Maybe is that still an ending? Possibly. I'd like to see that ending. I guess not. Am I going crazy? Blah, 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 blah. HD remix, more endings, viewer endings, more narrators, viewer endings, okay. Green light. Okay. You can read that if you want, I'm not going to. What is this? Narrator emails. Michael the Rock Martin. What do the lights in the control room do? I really want to know. Okay. The lounge. Yes. The apartment timer. Okay. Cargo lift. Okay. Meeting room. One option. Lounge. Okay, first choice did obey, display, lounge, man. Two options. Obey. The other entrance would be hidden depending on how you entered. Common ending. Oh, it's a confusion ending. Okay, there's a confusion ending. Okay. Two confusion ending. That also goes to confusion ending. And then there's a end. Ooh, what about this? Okay. Oh, there's a vent back into the lounge. Interesting. Sending levers. Z ending levers. These levers were originally a part of the sending. The player would pull a lever and the narrator would describe what color lever they pulled. Can I pull it now? Okay. The sending. This screenshot depicts an early version of the ending known as the Zending, which was eventually cut and merged into another part of the game. Kind of reminds me of Portal. Yeah. Escape menu. For a long time we had an ending that only ended when the player started from the escape menu. Unfortunately, very few players realized this was what they were supposed to do, which was frustrating for everyone. I can just begin the game again. Okay. Freedom ending. This is the freedom ending as it exists in beta. This tells me all the endings and stuff. Okay, I kind of want to find one on my own, so.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Yeet.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time
Did I just stream all of that then? It's all a dream. I just die? What if I do just do that? Press quit, huh? Is it really escape, or is it just whatever? Oh, I have to. Oh, okay. Achievements. Can't jump. No, seriously, we disabled it and I beat the game. I got 2 achievements. Click on door 430 5 times. Okay. This one's just one of these. Achievement. This is an achievement. Command. Play the Stanley Parable for the entire duration of a Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. Welcome back. Quit the game and then start again. Speedrun with Stanley Parable under 4 minutes 22 seconds, not including load times. Okay, go outside. Don't play this. Don't play the Stanley Parable for 5 years. Unachievable. Is it possible to get this achievement? Okay. Let's do this one and speedrun. Door 430. Okay, let's do it. Speedrun, door 430, and then I'm done. We'll come back in 5 days.
This is the story of a man named...
Yep. I already know all about it, man.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Yeah. Sure did, bud.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Quelle surprise.
Oh, you already opened the passageway. Okay. Oh. Maybe we'll get the achievements.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Yep.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Yes, he did.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machine...
Speedrun it, boy.
blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Was it?
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Kinda wanted to see the facility, but okay. Am I back in the game? Quit the menu. Achievements. Speedrun. Yeah, like 4 minutes, 22 seconds. Okay. Well, whatever, we'll get them next time. The actually comes back in 5 years to play Stanley Parable. Let's see what it is. It's 4, 5, no, is May 5th, 2020. Okay, come back May 5th, 2025. We're gonna come back and hopefully this computer will still be still exist in 5 years. 5 years. I'd be 21. Well, okay. That was the Stanley Parable. There will be a part 2. Just gotta wait for 5 years, okay? Oh my god. That's a... Is that actually the achievement? Okay, no, hold up. We're looking it up. Hold up. I don't know when this game was I don't know when this game was made, but Stanley Parable. Not the endings. I don't want the endings. Heaven ending, baby ending, countdown ending, escape pod, secret disco. Hold up. There's a lot more to this than I thought. Jesus. No, but 5. Don't play for 5 years. The Stanley Parable Go Outside achievement which tasks the players to not play the game for 5 years, can finally be earned through legitimate means today. I have the news you've all been waiting for. Okay, it actually. You can. Okay. Yeah. Don't plan to stay in for 5 years. Okay. Okay. You actually just don't have to play it for 5 years. Okay. Well, this has been Stanley Parable, everyone. See you for part 2 in 5 years. Come back, do all the endings, get all the achievements, and yeah, have a fun time. Oh man, I'll make sure to do my research on the endings and secrets before then. So, y'all be ready for part 2 in 5 years. 2025. Jesus. You know what? I might be stupid enough to actually do it. Oh man. Well, if you guys did like this video, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you are new around here, go ahead and press that subscribe button. Um, press the subscribe button. Next to it will appear a bell icon. You click the bell icon, you'll be notified when I next upload. That benefits you, not me. And without further ado, bye-bye.